Well, good afternoon. And we're between you guys and drinks, so we'll try to keep this interesting. I only have a 5-hour lecture, so we'll be all right. We'll be good to go. Any marketers in the room are trying to do a pretty simple thing. Just want to get a message to the right consumer. At a recent conference, there was a quote overheard here about the media business making it seem like it's much more complicated. But it really takes engineering to make things complicated. And could literally spend hours on this slide. Now, the good news about this slide, these are Lumascapes. These are all the companies that are involved in trying to get the right message in front of the right consumer. But you'll notice the legend at the bottom there. There's acquired companies and shuttered companies. There's a lot of those on this slide, which means the industry is starting to consolidate, which does make it a little bit simpler to get the right message to the right audience at the right time. Most of what I'm going to talk about today is focused on the fact that while everyone is talking about cord cutting and everyone is talking about digital and streaming, and there's been a lot of presentations about streaming media here and in other similar sessions like this. Traditional broadcast is still where the majority of the money is spent, and it's because it still delivers maximum reach. And so I'm going to try to talk a little bit about how we can bring more reach to the addressable platforms here. But right now, we're sort of in this mid-game where if you look at country by country, the viewership on an hourly basis between streaming media content and traditional broadcast is about split. And so if you're trying to maximize reach to your audience, then arguably you should be spending your dollars in about even both camps. On the digital side, the viewership, though, is kind of all over the place. You can't go to you can't just go to NBC or SBS and run an ad that runs to the entire country of Belgium and get reach that way. On the digital side, you have to be playing in all of these different platforms to try to build an audience. And unfortunately, the technologists, and I rank myself as one of those, we don't make it easy for you to do that. You end up having to go to a bunch of different silos to try to cobble together an audience. And then the measurement criteria that's available for all of these different platforms isn't the same. And so every viewer is not counted exactly the same. And some of the online or browser-based video display mechanisms, you have to worry about click-through fraud, and is someone actually viewing the ad, or is it buried behind 100 other windows? On the broadcast side, you don't face any of those things. If it's up on the TV screen, it is A, definitely viewable, and B, we can definitely measure how much of that ad was actually consumed within that household. INVIDI's product, Avatar, traditionally, we've been in business, it's been in market probably about 10 years. I actually was at this conference 10 years ago in the snow. Justin and I were talking about that earlier. There was about 15 people here. And Jason Malamud, who runs the advertising group at Verizon Fios, was the keynote speaker. And he was the only person that could talk about addressable TV on linear because they were the only people that were doing it with our product at the time. That's obviously no longer the case. It really is an industry. There's a lot of different players. There's a lot of technology choices. And building the marketplace is really what we're about. So digital, I think, is the driving force going forward for sure. I'm not here to say that there's going to be a resurrection of traditional broadcast. But traditional TV video services are still going to ring the cash register for the foreseeable future. And so as either an aggregator or an inventory holder, you need to have platforms and technologies that allow you to monetize all of your inventory, whether it's OTT inventory or traditional broadcast inventory, in a way that makes it sane and rational for the advertising community to spend their money with you and on your inventory. So as you can see, this is the ad revenue around the globe through 2022. The actual exact numbers here aren't important. It's really the relative size of the bars that matter. And as you can see, the blue TV viewing bar at the bottom there is still the majority of ad spend that happens around the world, and will continue to be that way for quite some time. And for marketers, they really are trying to reach their audience, and they buy audiences. They don't buy delivery methods. So an advertiser doesn't want to worry about, am I reaching this person through a VOD stream? Is it SVOD? Is it AVOD? Is it broadcast? Is it digital terrestrial? They want to know, where's my viewer? How do I reach them? And what's it going to cost me to get there? And they're really just trying to get that right message to the right audience at the right time. And where they are as far as their conversation with their target audience dictates whether they should be at addressable at all. There should be a healthy media mix between traditional broadcast medium where you're basically introducing a product, you're trying to get brand recognition. It's very hard to do that addressably. You usually have to know where your audience is in their decision process as far as call to action before you want to narrowly target your message to them. So again, although I work for an addressable advertising platform, I'm not here to advocate that all advertising should be addressable. There should be a healthy mix within the marketplace. On the measurement side, this is an area where I think there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done to bring some sanity to how measurement happens. Each country has its own mechanisms. Most of the mechanisms are built for broadcast, like Barb or Nielsen or ComScore. On the OTT side, a lot of the mechanisms are built for display. And so traditional video viewing on IP streaming platforms, again, the measurement mechanisms are all over the map. There's a lot of closed ecosystems where people are self-measuring and self-reporting. I don't think that's a very good strategy for growth. It also makes it very hard to build marketplaces where you may have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 technology stacks all in the same market delivering advertising. And you need to have common measurement across all of those to have a single currency. Be great to have one international currency. I don't see that happening, although I would vote for it if someone asked me personally what the world should do. But at least on a regional basis or within the same broadcast markets, you need to have some kind of commonality around reporting. The optimizations for how you define an audience needs to be unified. In the US, there's a movement called OpenAP, which a lot of the broadcast entities are getting behind, which is really in its foundation trying to have a common language for what does an auto-intender mean. If you're at DirecTV, an auto-intender has these characteristics. If I'm at Charter, is it the same characteristics or are it different characteristics? Today, they're different. OpenAP is trying to address that by bringing some commonality to that. Fortunately, not everybody's joined OpenAP, and so you'll still end up with this dichotomy of terms and definitions. Again, in the US, we have this bifurcated marketplace where you have local inventory, national inventory, multiple different sales entities. We're starting to now be at the very beginning of having a mixture of local addressable, national addressable, and different sales organizations trying to work together in order to make all of the inventory, which is about 14 minutes an hour in the US, monetizable in an addressable fashion if that's what the inventory holder wants to do. Again, you want to be able to support traditional sales where you have a salesperson sells the entire break to one advertiser or sells audience segments within a specific break position to specific audiences. We call that spot optimization. We also have an aggregation product where you can basically put the inventory into a pool and will in real time determine who's watching at which device at that specific moment in time and serve the right ad prescribed to that characteristics for that specific viewer. And the combination of all of those different sales models is really what helps bring total value into the ecosystem. Again, complicated ecosystem, the more we can simplify it, even if there's a lot of different vendors in the loop between the marketer and the end consumer of the video content, putting in interfaces and guardrails that makes it easier to transact is certainly something that we in NVIDIA advocate for. So all of this stuff gets transacted locally, even though the technology, from us, from Freewheel, from Cadent, is all being sold around the world to various different endpoints. It all gets installed into a local market. Sometimes we coexist. Sometimes the whole market goes one way or the other. We're going to have our friends from SBS are going to follow me up here on stage and talk about Belgium, which is our deployment at Telenet. And then in the United States, everything happens not at the broadcaster level, but at the aggregator level, at DirecTV, Dish, Verizon, and the like. And so the marketing challenges there are slightly different. And then OTT throws an entire different set of virtual MVPDs into the mix, and their needs and requirements from a technology perspective are different. So to meet those challenges, we at NVIDIA, we had a product called Avatar, which was addressing live linear broadcast space, DVRs, satellite, terrestrial cable. We acquired a company that was once known as Video Plaza from Uyala, which is a streaming product. That product is Pulse. We have a new product called NVIDIA Edge, which is the combination of both of the technology suites moved into a cloud SaaS offering that allows for single campaign management, one order in, deployed to all endpoints, set-top boxes, mobile phones, tablets, computer screens, wherever people happen to be consuming their media, that's where we'll be able to do that all from one single pipeline. Again, supports all the different various inventory modes, the various flavors of VOD, live linear broadcast, which of course on the OTT side is a challenge. You have 10 or 15 or even 25 million simultaneous viewers. Getting 25 million simultaneous ad requests on a live sporting event is quite the challenge to handle. Happy to and proud to say that today NVIDIA right now is the world record holder for that. During the Cricket World Cup, we had 28 million simultaneous viewers. We delivered a little over 2 billion ad impressions over a four-hour period. Until the Olympics, that's probably going to hold up as the world record. And I already talked through all of that. And then, so we also want to bring attribution to that, closing the loop. We do record statistics on every ad that we deliver. It allows the advertiser to know where their dollars were spent, who actually consumed that inventory, and tying that together with any kind of point of sale information that can be provided. Again, because we don't stand alone in any market that we're in, we want to reach out to other people, work alongside companies like Operative. Our parent company, Xandr, has Invest and Monetize, which are SSP, DSP platforms, and optimization technologies. We also have a very close relationship with Decentrix and their analytics products, which are also around inventory optimizations. That's not a skill set that NVIDIA does. We tend to work with other folks and our clients in a consultative fashion to get them best of breed technologies. In the US, ComScore is the currency for all addressable advertising that's not self-reported. And then there's initiatives for smart TV. Vizio is leading this project, OAR, Open Addressable Ready, and we are deep participants in supporting that technology as well. Again, we're sort of in the evolutionary process with addressability, especially in the United States, where the various technology companies have to sort of work together to build a cohesive marketplace. Because advertising is one of those areas where competing doesn't necessarily help you. Having silos doesn't help you. You want reach, you want audience, and so cooperation is really the way to get there, and truly everyone that cooperates and participates tends to bring more revenue into the marketplace, so everybody wins. It's one of the nice things about advertising. And again, this is a little bit of bragging, but I already worked most of that into my conversation. You know, I tend to do this ad hoc off the top of my head, so I apologize. I ran over a few minutes, so it's half a cocktail less for me. I'm sorry. But really, I think between the technology companies and the marketing and distributors, we can all work together to help the marketing community get the right message to the right audience at the right time. And thank you for your putting up with it.